Welcome to Brazil!
Hello everyone, I'm Thomas P. Wilsonson, and welcome to The Right Idea. Today we're going to be discussing the VP debates and the presidential debates. All three of them. And if you're wondering, yes, I did say three. For all you people in the future and all you Europeans, we had a complication with one of them. So if nobody doesn't know, once more for you Europeans, our presidents, the main two candidates being the Democrat and the Republican, for this election it's Joe Biden and Donald Trump. They face off in 3 debates, and the vice presidents face off in a debate as well, only one. Those being, for this election, Kamala Harris and Mike Pence. Each one of them will basically debate about topics, and they are each allotted 2 minutes, and then afterwards they're allowed to kind of like free range for a bit. But the idea is each 2 minutes you're not allowed to be interrupted. And afterwards you get like free range and then you take turns and such. That's not how the elections have been going for a long time. It came moderately in the 2012 election, but then it really started to show off in 2016. Oh no, 2016. The 2016 election's whole thing did not go well. A lot of interruptions. There were some funny clips that did come out of it, but in the end, it was not a good debate. It was just mudslinging at its finest. However, this debate, well, something, definitely. So we're going to start off this debate, like I'm going to start off every single debate on this show, with a new system called, it's not a system, it's just tallying up the numbers. We're going to tally up the numbers. So, for each debate, we're going to have on the side, on the left, we're going to have who won each category, numbered. And on the right, we're going to have the all-together categories. These include just Biden and Trump. If Pence or Kamala Harris, they'll go for their candidate. So let's go. So the first debate was just a mess. Joe Biden and Donald Trump have 2 of their big weaknesses and strengths. I guess Trump, it kind of has a strength on his side, but Biden doesn't. Those being, Trump, his big thing is that he really likes to interrupt people in debates, and sometimes it looks really good, but sometimes he looks just really, really stupid and brash, and it's not good for the man. He looks just, extremely rude. And then there's Joe Biden's quirk, which is what I'm going to call cracking. He sometimes within the speech, he'll just go on about it. And, when the man with the white hair who's running for who is that guy? What is this guy's name is? The guy who's running for the Democratic Party. He's going against the other guy who's running for the Republicans. He wasn't that nice. Like that. He'll kind of just lose it. But it doesn't happen that much. It only really happens during his rallies and during his interviews. And now that I think about it, it does actually happen a lot. But nonetheless, both of these 2 major, chinks in each other's armor was going to show up in the first debate. At least that's what everyone thought it was going to be. We had a really, just terrible situation. Just COVID in general was just not doing well, But nonetheless, it came up. The first topic was COVID, and it didn't go well. Trump tried to defend his actions, and I think he did decently, but he fell. He did not do well. Then Biden did what he was meant to do, and just sling as much shit as he could, and he was good at it. And then he started to do some really fucked up things, which is going to become a tradition now in these debates. is where he began to stand on the people who died of COVID's graves. There's a lot of things you can note in this situation. that being disgusting, which it is. There's no way of going around it. What he did was disgusting and wrong. It's sickening. And there's also, obviously, the big, fact check of, a lot of deaths are, what was the famous line? If you died and you had the sniffles in a car crash, you died of COVID. Stuff like that. And it really did show off in the numbers and the figures, because there's so many figures, there's so many numbers that I just ping-ponged each other. Trump's using one figure, Biden's using another. Obviously Biden's is more high, Trump's is way more low. And you can't get an answer out of either one of these people, because they're both pulling entirely different narratives. And then when they finally come out, it looks they're both worse for wear. This debate did nothing for either one of them. That said, I do believe that Biden won this debate. It's by, I'd say, 10% he won by it. If he got 60% and Trump got 40%. Trump just kept interrupting people. He made a really stupid decision and decided to try and fight the freaking moderator, which did not go well for him, because he's the guy who controls the freaking debate. So, of course, he lost miserably in that situation. And the next day, everyone was like, all Republicans, at least, were going on about these stupid theories. The main one being that Biden had notes and he was reading a teleprompter. That sounded stupid. And the debate started so well, and it didn't go well. Biden laid a trap. I wouldn't say trap, but a trap, basically. Because Biden has two sons, if nobody doesn't know. And one of his sons was a war hero, a great guy. And a lot of shit happened to him. And it's not nice. He was a good guy, apparently. And he died, and it was sad. And then he has his other son named Hunter Biden. He's the main topic of Trump's tirades against his family. And he's had shady dealings with foreign countries. And Trump brought that up, but he said son, not Hunter Biden, son. So, of course, when he heard that, Biden instantly snaps into line saying, well, my son, and that's not his voice. Well, my son, he died in a war, and he's a war hero. It's really wrong how I'm pretty sure he also brought up the figure, not figure, but Trump said supposedly that he at Arlington National Cemetery, the biggest military cemetery in the entire country, saying why do we want all of these losers? All these guys, they lost in the war. And I really don't understand why these people are going around and touting these people as heroes. They lost. They're losers. That kind of stuff. Which, a lot of people debunked it. And, I can believe that. I can't really think that he would say that. Trump's done a lot of shitty things and said a lot of shitty things. But there's one thing that he's consistent on, is that he likes the military. But nonetheless, he fell into that trap, and he lost miserably. He couldn't go back. And then he did a really disingenuous apology, saying, I didn't know about him. And, which he didn't, maybe. Well, he probably wasn't talking about him, he meant. But, nonetheless, he still lost that debate miserably. And, there's nothing else to really say about this debate. It was that Trump interrupted Biden, and Biden really didn't do too well. And Republicans tried to dodge all the things and tried to shield all the things with Biden interrupted too. And, Biden called him a clown and told him to shut up, which, by the way, didn't turn out very well, because freaking Biden, everyone loved that Biden told him to shut up. The Hillary Clinton said something I wish I could say that. That's not her voice. Everyone was just losing their minds over that debate. It was terrible. It wasn't entertaining even. It was just bad. Biden wins that one. Biden's got a 1. Trump, everyone gets a 0 in that column for right now. Then came probably the best debate out of this entire situation. That being Harris v. Pence. Now, both of them are basically like their candidates, but a little more extreme. Harris is a lot more socialistic, socialist. She's more socialist, and Pence is more Republican and conservative. She supported the Green New Deal. He supported electroshock therapy for homosexuals. I don't believe he's still on that. At least he hasn't brought it up yet, to my knowledge. But he was for it before, and he, it's the famous line of, he's Trump's bulletproof armor, because if he dies, then he's president, and then that will be a big problem for liberals. But nonetheless, Pence and Harris debated each other, and the debate went great, in my opinion. This was a debate, just a normal debate, and it was good. It was a good debate. Now, in this debate, we had both their chinks in their armor. Pence didn't interrupt. Kamala Harris obviously didn't have freaking Alzheimer spurts. She's not that old. So both of them were brought up, and the thing was Kamala Harris was really good at dodging questions. She dodged almost all of the questions, and she made a lot of them about herself. She dodged the question about fracking, kind of. She lied about that question, actually. She dodged the question about packing the court. She dodged the question about the black incarceration in California. She dodged the question about... She dodged a question that wasn't even a question, that didn't even question her. The final question was why some 8th grader was why do Democrats and Republicans have to be so mean to each other? And then she dodged that question. She went on about how Joe Biden is the best choice for America. That's not a question where you promote your candidate. That's a question where you're trying to answer the question. You know what I mean? It's not a question for the debate. It's just a question in general. You know what I mean? Pence didn't bring up Donald Trump. I mean, he might have alluded to him. Not even he didn't allude to him. He didn't bring him up at all. Kamala Harris lost that debate miserably. She went about I'm speaking, Mr. President. No, she didn't say, I'm speaking. Vice President, I'm speaking. You know what I mean? She treated Pence like it was a petulant 5-year-old. I think that she went into the debate thinking that she was going to debate Donald Trump, and she ended up debating Mike Pence, and she ended up losing that debate. However, oh God, I fucking hate this. There was this scene that happened, and everyone brings this up and laughs about it. A fly flew into Mike Pence's hair. And yeah, sure, 1 or 2 funny jokes can come out of it, but people keep talking about it. There's still people talking about it. Whenever someone brings up the debate and is moderately conservative on the debate, and I'm not that conservative in a lot of situations, but when I bring up the debate and say that I think Pence won, well, yeah, and they always say something along the lines of, if you don't say that Kamala Harris won, they'll always say, well, this is my favorite one. Well, I think Pence won the debate. Well, you know who actually won the debate? It was that fly. The fly won the debate. The fly went into Pence's hair and flew into Pence's hair, and he didn't feel it because it's a freaking fly. And it was in his hair for about 5 minutes or something, and then it flew away. That was the entire debate. Whenever someone would bring up Mike Pence, that was always the answer for all the liberals, was either that he was being racist or that a fly flew in his hair. And I desperately hate that, because I hate to say this, but that fly costs some election points, man. That fly costs some election points, because instead of speaking about the actual debate, people start to speak about a freaking bug. That bug might cost the debate, and that's scary. Something similar happened to Hillary Clinton, I believe, and no one talked about that, of course. Granted, people did talk about it, but they didn't talk about it to such a giant scale. So either way, Trump easily wins this debate, so it's 2-2. It's real easy. Every single question was just so well put together on his end, and Harris just tumbled and fell apart. It was sad. It was just depressing. Harris lost. On to the second debate. Second debate started off with a big problem. Trump said he wasn't going to do an online debate or something along those lines. It wasn't going to be an online debate. It was going to be a debate with... He wasn't going to do the second debate. So they started fighting and fighting and fighting. And what ended up happening was that they just ended up doing 2 town halls. Biden's town hall was on, what was it on? It was on news station. Trump's was also on news station, NBC. And then celebrities started to try and boycott NBC because they're hosting Trump. And I'm like, who else is going to host Trump? So either way, it was a sad display. They tried to boycott NBC. Obviously, it didn't work. And Trump and Biden both fought in different town halls. They were both interviewed by different people. Biden, and everyone agrees with this, Biden got a lot easier questions. Trump was, once again, actually debating with the proctor, while Biden was just given soft serves, you know what I mean? Like, you couldn't see both of the debates at the same time, unless you had, 2 TVs, because they were both happening at the same time, but you were able to catch the end of the Biden town hall if you watched the Trump town hall, But it really showed how badly it was put together, and due to that, even though Trump didn't have, a lot of people could say that Trump lost that town hall. In my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion, including a lot of people on the far left even, Trump won that debate. And that whole debate, again, with question marks. It was a town hall, but he won it pretty easily because he was actually given hard and difficult questions, and he didn't answer all of them very well. He was pretty stomped on some of them, but nonetheless, he actually answered at least one. And answering one hard question answering one hard question well looks a lot better than Biden answering all these soft serves easily. You know what I mean? So either way, in the end, Biden ended up losing this, And some people can argue that he won. But the grand majority, at least from what I've seen, say that Trump won this. And listen, where I live, there's a ton of liberals. And even them saying that, it makes it look like they're more, it looks like Trump won the debate by them saying that he got harder questions and he answered them better. The final debate that happened a few days ago was probably the best debate out of all of them, because they said they're going to mute mics. And due to this was probably the best debate for Trump ever, because due to this debate, Trump had his one weakness destroyed, the fact that he rudely interrupts people. So due to this, he won this debate easily. The first few minutes didn't go his way because they started off with coronavirus. And no matter what you do, you're always going to lose this debate. You know what I mean? Even if freaking Jesus was the president, they'd lose the debate. Because if people die, it's somehow the president's fault. It's always the president's fault. And if no one dies, it's somehow the president's, you can't really go against it either way. If 5 people die, it's the president's fault. If no one dies, it's to the president's credit. You know what I mean? You look bad either way. You know what I mean? And Trump tried to move on to other people, like Cuomo. Everyone moves on to Cuomo because he's a terrible person. But nonetheless, he did move on to Cuomo, and then Biden tried to bat that away, And after a while, due to Trump not interrupting him, Biden started to crack, and he cracked hard. He started to say stuff about, he confused Trump with Abraham Lincoln. A lot of people said that he was trying to make some kind of joke, and if so, it was a very bad joke. But he lost that, obviously. He kept on, he said, "come on, man," about 500 times, which really showed how much he was cracking. He was losing it. He was saying, "come on, man, come on, man, come on, man." He was basically asking Trump to stop after a while, And the thing that really cracked was, when he made a comment about, I believe it was in foreign policy section, Trump said something about North Korea, and Biden responded with the line, "We had good relations with Hitler before World War II." and something along those lines. It doesn't matter what we have, because first of all, we had no good relations with Germany after World War II. We hated them. And two, even if we did have good relations with Germany, we would have easily lost them once Hitler rose to power, because he stood against everything America in the 40s stood for. You know what I mean? Other than now the deep areas of racism in some areas of America, but other than that, but nonetheless, we didn't have any relations. We didn't have any relations with barely anyone, because we were still following George Washington's address or something, saying that we shouldn't have allies and stuff. But nonetheless, we didn't have any good relations, and it's really screwed up saying that Trump is trying to basically become friends with Hitler. He's not trying to become friends with Hitler. He's trying to denuclearize a fucking nutjob nation. You know what I mean? Biden is going to screw up North Korea terribly if he wins, I believe. And, obviously, Trump's not going to do too well with COVID, I believe. But I feel like once COVID is over, in the end, I think Biden will become the worst president. You know what I mean? He just doesn't show any, real way of getting through. And there's obviously other conspiracy theories saying that Kamala Harris will easily become president. Somehow they'll impeach Biden on day one. They'll kill Biden, you know what I mean? Biden will step down. Which, if Harris does win, I don't want Harris to become president. I try and stay indifferent in most situations, especially in this time, but I don't want Harris to become president. She generally scares me. But nonetheless, the debate was an easy win for Trump. And it really did show how, when he is talking civilly, he can show off how well he does. After the first 50 minutes, it was just a steamroll. It was a steamroll on Biden. There was no way he could do it. And then by the way, he started standing on graves. He started to stand on graves in all these debates. But then Trump kind of bad that way back there. And then Biden tried to pull out a moral card, we're doing all these things. How can you live with this, Trump, and stuff like this? He did what was the guy's name who was fat? He was with Biden. He was with Trump. He hasn't liked vaccines. I think he's from Pennsylvania. Christie. I haven't heard that guy's name in the news recently. But nonetheless, Christie, he did something similar in the Republican debates back in 2016, where he basically pulled down a candidate with him, And this was a long time ago. I was pretty young when the 2016 debates went through, so I don't remember that much of it. But nonetheless, he pulled him down with him, and because he did that because the candidate, I believe it was Ted Cruz. No, it wasn't Ted Cruz, but it was someone along those lines. He pulled him down because he was a giant threat to Trump. And Trump was kind of able to do that. He predicted his lines. That's what Christie did. He predicted Biden's lines, and because of that, he made Biden look like a fucking idiot. Trump is really good at debating when he isn't interrupting people. You can see that in his State of the Union address. All those debates when he's actually being civil. You can see it in his rallies, because his rallies do pretty well when he's not acting like a psychopath. In the end, I feel like Trump has two faces in this debate. The face that the media shows a lot, and the face that you can see a lot in his debates and in his rallies. But there's also the real Trump and his policies, where he shows how well he can do, and stuff in the State of the Union. Because he's been on TV. He knows how to act when he needs to act. But, it shows how he can actually work around this whole situation. And I do think that Trump has a good chance of winning. I don't think he's going to win 100%, but I think he has a good chance of winning, especially after these debates. But in the end, this whole situation just seems so nuts. The mail-ins, all that stuff. But nonetheless, that was a debates. We have a few days before the election. Go out and do what you can. See you guys later.
Bye.